Has someone you trusted ever looked at your sadness and told you to just have more faith? And did the advice, instead of lifting the weight, somehow press it down harder? Because now, on top of the depression, you were carrying the guilt of not having prayed it away? If that is you tonight, I want to begin by saying gently that the advice was wrong and the weight it added was never yours to carry. There is a particular cruelty in being told that the cure for your sorrow is simply to believe harder. It takes a real wound and turns it into a moral failing. The heaviness was already there, the gray mornings, the effort it takes just to rise, the flatness where joy used to live. And now a second voice arrives on top of it, whispering that a stronger Christian would not feel this. So you carry two weights instead of one: the depression and the shame about the depression. So let us be honest before we are comforted. That second weight is a lie, and it is a heavy one. And some of the most faithful people who ever lived have buckled under it. Tonight, I do not want to scold the sadness out of you, as if the soul obeyed orders. I want to show you what depression actually is, and what it is not. Because it is not the verdict you were handed, and the truth of it is far kinder than the advice ever was. Open the scriptures, and you find that the dark is not a stranger there. The prophet Elijah, days after the greatest victory of his life, sat down under a solitary tree in the wilderness and asked God to let him die. He was not faithless. He had just called down fire from heaven. He was exhausted and afraid and emptied out. And the weight came down on him anyway, the way it comes down on the strong. And watch what God does not do. He does not appear and rebuke the prophet for his weak faith. He does not say, "You of all people should know better." He sends an angel, and the angel does the most ordinary, tender thing imaginable. It lets him sleep, and then it feeds him. Rest and bread, and only afterward a quiet word. Heaven's first response to a depressed prophet was not a sermon. It was care for the body. Hear this clearly, because someone needs to say it to you plainly. The God of the Bible meets the sinking soul not with blame, but with bread. The heaviness you feel is not a measure of how much you trust him, any more than Elijah's was a measure of his. It is a body and a mind under a real weight, in a world that has given them too much to carry alone. Here is the quiet mercy hidden in the science. Depression is not only a mood, it is often the body itself running low, the chemistry that carries hope across the brain gone thin, the engine of the mind starved of its fuel. You cannot believe your way out of a deficiency any more than you can pray your way out of a broken leg. The faith is real, but faith was never meant to do the work that medicine and rest and care were made to do. So, when help comes in a form that is not a miracle, do not despise it. Sometimes the answer to the prayer is a friend who sits with you. Sometimes it is a therapist who helps you name what you could not name. Sometimes it is medicine that lifts the chemical fog just enough that you can feel God's nearness again. None of those is a failure of faith. Every one of them can be a gift from the God who made the body and called it good. Even the Apostle Paul carried a thorn. He begged God 3 times to remove, and it stayed. God did not call him faithless for the begging, And he did not shame him for the thorn. He said only, "My grace is enough for you." Notice, the grace did not erase the thorn. It met Paul inside it. And the grace that was enough for the thorn is near to the mind that cannot seem to lift its own weight tonight. So, when the heaviness settles over you again, try not to add the second weight. Do not reach for the verdict that says, "This means your faith is small." Reach instead for the truth. This is a weight on my body and my mind, not God's judgment on my soul. And let the morning come slowly, 1 hour at a time, because mornings do come. The dark is loud. It is not the final word. And on the nights when you cannot lift it on your own, when the weight feels total and the prayer will not rise, let that be permission, not shame, to reach for help. The same grace that meets you in prayer meets you in the doctor's office and the therapist's room, and the steady hand of a friend who simply will not leave. God is not offended by the help he provided. He is in all of it, the way he was in the angel and the bread. So rest if you can. Your mind may be heavy tonight, but his grace is heavier still, and it does not rise and fall with your mood. The depression is not your enemy, and it is not your verdict. It is a weariness in a faithful house, and the one who lives in that house has not left, and will not when the morning comes. Your sadness was never the measure of your faith. Grace is, and grace remains.